This is Big Man Tyrone, and you're about to watch the MtG Cabal cast with your hosts, Woad, Thirsty, and Reptar. Sub to us on all your podcast networks at MtG Cabal Cast and YouTube.
Hey guys, welcome to the Cabal cast. Got me and Reptar here again.
Yes, sir.
Going to be a pretty easy episode. It's been slow news. WotC seems to be holding everything until the Pro Tour, which the last topic we'll talk about is going to be what's shaping up with the PPTQs and what they've said about that. Our big thing this week has been coverage. That's the main topic. WotC has cut all coverage as of Grand Prix New Jersey until the next Pro Tour, Mythic Championship, whatever you want to call it. And basically going to be touching on some of the implications that could have. And then, of course, we'll have our picks, but that's it. So take us away.
Yep. So this past weekend, I think it was somewhere around midday Saturday, we got a notification from WotC that said that they were going to be cutting coverage of all Grand Prix, Magic Fests, from here on out. And they released their coverage schedule for the first quarter of 2019, which included Grand Prix Prague, which happened, and the Mythic Championship in Cleveland. And a follow-up announcement came that between Cleveland and London, there would be no coverage of any official WotC event. We couple that with a handful of photos coming out of GP New Jersey, some information from the winner about the trophy photos, and then a seemingly candid text message from one of the photographers to either a pro player or somebody else on coverage that they had been let go from WotC coverage, as WotC said there was no need for photography anymore at any of these events. And that leaves Tournament Magic as a visible entity kind of in this really awkward space where the game's supposed to be an esport, but we're basically losing all coverage of high-level events that aren't Mythic Championships.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. So, and we kind of have differing views on this, seeing as I was at New Jersey and things weren't as bad as people made it out to be. A lot of these photos that were taken out of context and taken and a narrative spun from people that don't actually know how these events work. Knowing how events like this work as a judge, as a player, and somebody that works for a TO. Something I want to cover when I talk about this a little bit. But, Jason, if you want to start us out on how you feel about the coverage change.
Yeah. So I think it's awful. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's going to do way more damage to the game than good. One of the big things is that you're cutting away all visibility. And even if, come Cleveland, you decide, or Columbus, whatever, you decide, you know what, it's okay, we're bringing everything back. You have done so much damage to people's ability to believe what you say, to people's faith in your product, that I don't know what they're doing. They say they want to be taken seriously as an esport. They have these people streaming Arena. They don't have big events on Arena. They don't have any plans on like, hey, this is where, we're announcing an announcement. Haha, it's such a funny joke, but fine. I like when they do that. I'd rather them announce, say, hey, we'll have news for you on this day. You can look forward to it. We know what we're doing. Because right now it seems like they don't have a plan. And I'm worried that if they do take big events over to Arena, because Wizards has always said, obfuscating data from our players is fine. We're okay with it. That's why the 5.0 list changed, Moto releases changed, everything. Arena doesn't have deck list released right now.
Nope.
If they take those competitive events over to Arena and take them away from Moto, where we have this information, all this information is locked into the software that we can't see results from. And that really sucks for standard prices if Arena is in fact only standard.
Yep.
Because at that point, outside of Channel Fireball, Star City articles, whatever singles they're shilling that week and they write an article about, and Pro Tours, there's not a whole lot of information besides checking Reddit or something. Like Goldfish, you're not going to be able to check archetypes. You're just going to have to go back to like brewing. And don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against Brewers. The problem is going into an unknown meta, it makes the financial market significantly less stable because, we're in week 1 standard right now, which is always a disaster and may or may not stick. But you could go from Carney T being a $40 mythic and sitting there for 3 months until the next Mythic Championship, whatever.
Yep.
And then Carney T's nowhere, and all of a sudden it's a $10 mythic.
Yep.
And at that point, you're like, well, why do I have these cards in my trade binder? I just lost $30 a piece. I could have buy listed for $25 and been fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really bad. I think that it further cements the, not really doom and gloom, but the general belief that Paper Magic may only have about 4 to 5 years left.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if Wizards continues down this path, either through mismanagement or design, Paper Magic's going to be dead within 4 to 5 years.
A lot of that makes sense, and especially when you couple kind of... Now, I don't want to say narrow here and be insulting, but when you just look at the Magic brand as being WotC only, it definitely paints a very clear picture of exactly what you're saying. And that's kind of where our view on this differs.
Yeah.
So a lot of what people are thinking about is basically Magic going back to the Stone Age in terms of coverage. Prior to pre-streaming, this is basically what we had. We had periodicals that had our deck lists. We had on weekends text-only coverage or text messages from friends at large events like nationals and regionals about the information that was coming in. And that's the way that WotC has basically made us envision coverage becoming. It's this weird trend that you can also see in watches. People wore watches, then we had cell phones, so they stopped wearing watches, and now there's a revival in the pocket watch and wristwatch scene. It's just kind of this awkward...
That's fair.
Yeah, cyclical thing. But I think this actually plays more into the narrative of what WotC wants, despite the fact they haven't said it, in regards to the fact that Magic Fests are now going to be these local events. Star City doesn't cover, or I don't know if they still do them, their own regionals. They just let them happen, and then the deck lists were reported in. The TCG Player events, same thing. They weren't covered until you got to the 50K or whatever it was back at TCG Player HQ. And I think WotC wants these Magic Fests to feel more local by removing a lot of the pomp and circumstance that come along with them. Sure, you'll still have vendors and you'll have players driving hours to get to them, but they want them not to feel like the circus that they used to be, which is weird because when they named the Magic Fests, that's pretty much what they intended it to be, was this continued circus.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens... Oh, good.
No, go ahead.
That happens with this is that now you shift the focus for non-Mythic Championship style events to other entities like Star City Games or Mox Boarding House, Card Titan, these other entities that cover Magic almost every weekend and cover it really well, sometimes better than the WotC stream. And in the case of Star City, basically every time better than the WotC stream. And
it's true.
They're still pushing the Magic brand. They're still pushing the narrative of this game along. We don't have to have Wizards of the Coast pushing their own brand in that regard. They can let other people do their marketing for them. And it allows these other entities, these other circuits, these other formats to shine and lets WotC focus on what they need to. This also then allows them to move all the pomp and circumstance over to these Mythic Championships and make them feel more like the Riot League of Legends event that you would get at large conventions around the world, be it DreamHack or Anime Expo in LA or DragonCon down in Atlanta, PAX Prime, PAX East. We're just going to get these huge events, the first of which we saw at PAX Prime a couple of years ago for Worlds, or the Pro Tour that was out at PAX Prime. And we could get a nice tight package of what they actually want Magic coverage to be at the highest levels there. And to go along with the announcement about an announcement, we also don't know what the arena schedule is going to be like for the MPL. So the official WotC stream could move over to that, and we'll see on weekends, instead of Magic Fest coverage and /GP coverage like we're used to, we're now going to see this arena coverage. So while we might not be getting deck lists from arena, at least we'll be able to see the MPL playing and testing and what have you. And I think this there's definitely a lot more to consider than just looking at Magic as a brand that WotC controls and start looking at Magic as a brand that a lot of people have their hands on and hands in when it comes to coverage and play and everything else, and especially when it comes to content delivery. WotC doesn't deliver the greatest Magic content. That's left up to all the other entities that take care of it over the years.
Actually do it well.
Yes, that have current pro players writing for them and things like that. Not just talking about the fluff of the game or how they develop this mechanic, but actually theory and practice and why they think X, Y, or Z is better than A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And I think there's just... This can go either way. And I don't want to sound like I'm super positive on these changes because I'm not. I really dislike going back to having to buy Inquest magazine to get deck lists and things like that.
Swan Song was the best article in any periodical ever on the back page of Inquest. Sorry, continue.
Fair enough. Even Inquest used to have the Play Magic See the World thing on the back cover here and there.
Yeah.
Which was great. And I don't want to sound positive about this. I want to believe that we're in a dry spell where WotC is just pulling things from us and we're waiting for the Pro Tour to get everything that we've been waiting on. And this is terrible that we have to wait for this while they just keep cutting things off. It's just where we are. I don't think what it comes down to in my mind is just a complete lack of knowledge on PR and marketing and how to handle announcements like this. I don't think they have anybody that's actually dealt with esports before. If they have somebody on the team that's handling the esports division, that person has most likely never done this job before, or they have and nobody at WotC is listening, which is also the case sometimes.
Yeah. Either way, it just feels really bad, and I think that going regional is fine. I think the issue is that, the one out I can see here, if Channel Fireball says, hey, we know they're not doing coverage, but you know who's hosting every Mythic Championship? Us.
Yep.
We'll have it up on our stream. But who would they even get? I guess Maria and Rich, maybe? I don't know.
They're all contracted as far as I know, except for maybe BDM. He seems to be kind of a hired gun. And Jacob Van Lunen, they kind of come and go. Not as they please, but as necessary.
Yeah.
Or, maybe WotC just shifts the contract. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that if we find out something about that, that's different. But right now, it just feels terrible.
I agree.
Yeah, it's not just this. It's like a compounding of all of these little things that they keep doing that they're like, no, we're making big changes. It's going to be great. Here's 10 things we're doing wrong.
Yeah.
But here's Uma. Here's Mythic Edition. Here's everything to try to take away from that. And I don't like it.
No, I get it. And if things go wrong, this does lead to kind of a crisis with Standard. Standard is in a place. It's not great, especially when you're playing best of one on Arena. And I don't even want to touch the financial aspect of things from my point of view because I honestly, I don't know. If everything shifts over to Arena for the times that we should have Magic Fest, GP coverage, how does that play when it comes to card pricing when you have a small player pool of 32 or maybe 64 people only in these events? It's very difficult, and we're going to see some big things happen starting at that Pro Tour in regards to finance for Standard. And if they announce that other format, that alternative Eternal format for Arena, we might see some waves there as people try and move that format immediately to paper, a la Pauper.
I mean, I think the worst part about this is that it might not seem like it at first, but removing this coverage, I think actually does damage the LGSs. Because you don't know what singles you're going to need in stock. Mm-hmm. You don't know what stuff to pay more on because it's big this weekend, so someone's going to come in next week and buy it. You don't know what stuff is bad. So unless you're checking just on TCG prices and making the inference there, which at that point you're spending a lot of time on that for an LGS, that makes it real difficult. And I think that's the thing that is very concerning to me is that you you do something that seems like such a high-level decision, like it only affects up here, and it has huge impacts down here. And frankly, just bring back the player reward program. That's all I'm going to say about it. But
I like the player reward program.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Dan Bach posted the 10-year challenge, right?
Yep.
And it was the letter saying, here's the player reward program. This is going to be great. And then 10 years later, it was just blank space.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. It doesn't cost him that much.
No.
But yeah, it's, like I said a couple weeks ago, it seems like there's two halves of this. Like the Hasbro half and the WotC half. One half wants the opposite of what the other half does, and they never talk.
Yeah.
So you get decisions like, oh, we're revamping the Pro Club. 3 months later, we're getting rid of the Pro Club. Sorry. And it's a very precarious spot financially for the game, which, further reiterates just buy reserve list, guys. That's where it's at.
Yeah. And anything that can be reprinted, just divest when you think is appropriate.
Yeah.
But that's what I did this past weekend. I divested from everything, even some reserve list cards, into other larger reserve list cards, because I can't predict standard. It's very difficult with the coverage announcement. I don't know what's going to happen to standard prices. And when it comes to modern, I assume the only entity left that's going to carry it with any regularity now is Star City Games, and maybe there will be another tournament series that picks it up. I know MKM in Europe generally does one modern event a quarter, but that doesn't drive prices. So I got out. I kept my stock to play with, but I just got rid of copies 5 through whatever.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think this is the time to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the last things I want to touch on before we move out of this is a photo that went around when the top 8 started. Like, I was on my way out of the state when this photo went up, and I don't know who took it originally, but this is from Evan Irwin's timeline, and it's the photo of the top 8 draft in front of the main stage. And what you can see here is two tables worth of players, 4 on each side, judges on opposite ends, including the head judge, and a bunch of tables without tablecloths. And there's text that goes with this. It basically talks about the lack of pomp and circumstance, and how this is the end of an era. What does this mean going forward? And almost everybody that circulated this image does not understand anything about what's going on here as an image. As a TO, when you schedule your room, you are part of that contract is to tell them when you will be done with the space and when they can start cleaning it up. And so even on Star City streams, when they get into the top 8, you can hear the event staff start cleaning that place up. You'll hear tables and chairs clanging. So that's what's going on outside of this image. That's why they're not doing it in the feature match area that they had that was roped off.
Yeah,
the other thing
because they were tearing that down.
Yeah, you see the tablecloths on these? That was done by judges. Judges are the first wave of cleaning crews at these events. So what you're also missing here is just a fleet of judges moving tables and chairs out towards the aisle so the event staff can just come around and pick them up. There's really nothing wrong with this photo. This is just how top 8s generally happen for events that don't have streamed coverage, because there's no feature match area with cameras. They just put them somewhere localized, somewhere it's easy for the judge staff and event staff to move these tables and chairs and close this event hall down at the guaranteed time, or as close to it as possible without running over. There's really not a whole lot wrong with this photo, and I'd like to stress that.
Yeah. I would also like to touch on the point, as a TO or a store that's hiring your judges, pay them more, because they do an insane amount of work for free, like clean up like this. Yeah. And that's something that, pay them for it.
I didn't know that was going to be part of what I signed up for at GP Montreal a couple of years ago. I don't live that far from it, so I told the judge staffer, I can stay Saturday to end of day Sunday and help clean up. And then at the end of day on Sunday, they said, okay, good. Well, the top 8's going on. This is the standard GP with Marvel. I was in that room picking up tables and chairs, and I'm sure you could hear me doing that while the top 8 is going on. Yeah. And that's just how it works. The other thing that we heard from the eventual winner much later on in the night, and this is actually disappointing news, is that there was no real trophy.
Yeah.
It was just a cardboard trophy. And I didn't look into it, but there was mention of the fact that it might have been the trophy from Vancouver. Like, the prop trophy that was at Vancouver for some reason was the trophy they used for the photos here.
Yeah.
And that's a little more concerning to me than the cleanup crew coming through.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's like, oh, it's just a $25 trophy. What does it matter? Well, it's not about the trophy itself. It's about what it signifies.
Yeah.
It's about going away from the ceremony.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, I openly will unironically say that football is my religion. 19 Sundays a year, I'm off work. I'm in front of my TV at the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't miss a game. And one of the things that's great about sports and esports as well is the ceremony. That's what makes it. The presentation trophy for the league and the Dota championships and Overwatch, like that's a big deal.
Oh yeah, they're
to
huge.
People who follow that. Like that is the culmination of everything they've worked for the last weeks, months, years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think taking, regardless of going down the street to the local trophy shop and getting a trophy, whatever, it's about getting away from that ceremony.
Yeah.
Getting away from what that means to the people who are grinding this out. That, I mean, you used to see all the time. You'd go into a local store and someone's Star City top 8 trophy would be there.
Yep.
Just hanging out for show. Because like, oh, great, this guy, like, he won this and he plays here. Awesome. And that's getting away from that because it gives you this weird sense of belonging to the extremely larger part of the community. And it's like an inspiration almost. You walk in, you see that trophy, you're like, I'm a nobody, but I can win that.
Yeah.
And I think getting away from that is another thing that gives really bad feel-bads as far as the changes that they've made lately. And I think that's, a financial game, the actual game, whatever, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
and I think that's rough.
The lost sense of accomplishment it is rough. Like
Yeah.
I don't even think that guy walked away with a fake check. It was just a photo with a fake trophy, and that's that,
Yeah.
He's up on the WotC site, I'm sure, somewhere on the mothership, and whatever cell phone photo they took of him because there was no real photographer there. And,
Yeah. They probably have like a 10-year-old Kodak. It's fine.
Exactly.
Disposable camera.
I mean, look, they couldn't get Reed Duke's mom any shots of him playing, so why would they do anything for this guy?
Yeah. Woof.
Yeah. But, that's it for our primary topics this week, because there's a pretty big and heavy topic that casts fallout throughout the rest of this game on every aspect. So we just wanted to get something out while we had time. And we know we were delayed this week, so we want to apologize. I had troubles traveling back on Sunday due to weather.
Death in the family here, so sorry, guys.
Yeah, so we're doing this midday on Wednesday and trying to get this out tonight. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yep.
On our way out, though, real quick, picks from each of us.
Yes.
So
go ahead.
Thank you. I divested from Niv Mizzet. That was part of what I did. I got rid of Perun. He was selling for 4 all day long on the floor, so I took a 3 and 4x multiplier on that. So
yeah.
If you can get the same, I would suggest doing that. If you bought in below 2, now's the time. I don't think this guy's going anywhere in standard from what I've been hearing.
No.
My pick this week is a card I've been thinking about for a while because it has disappeared from Modern, and that's Eldrazi Temple.
Yeah.
And from what I've been hearing from a lot of locals and grinders getting ready for the upcoming Modern events at Star City, this card is coming up because of Chalice is on 2. It's another Chalice for 1 on 2 deck, and it lost nothing by these past bannings, and its drop in popularity was due to the rise in both KCI and then kept down because of Phoenix.
Yeah.
And Hardened Scales, sorry, that also kept it down. They were just, kind of faster. And with the Grixis War deck showing up at Star City Indy in the Modern sides, which is a ridiculous deck to begin with, this shuts that deck down too. Chalice on 1 just triples that deck. So at $5 market on TCG. I've got the stocks page up. You can see the dual deck version is $5. The most expensive one is Rise at $6 and change. This was a $15 card outside of Eldrazi Winter.
Yeah.
We could see another easy double up to 10 if Eldrazi Tron does come back and take the place it had prior.
Yeah. I think that's really smart. Like you said, Eldrazi Tron has been on the wane, and its worst matchup just went away.
Yeah.
So I think that Chalice on 1 is still as powerful in Modern as it's ever been.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's a huge boon for the deck. So I could definitely see that going up. On that note, actually, and the increase of Chalice, mine is Promo Abrade. So first off, the art's great. Second off, it's starting to pop up in some burn lists, some Jund lists in Modern.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a great piece of modal removal for Eternal formats.
Yeah.
And these promos are pretty cheap right now, just because it's not a card that's seeing a lot of play. And Skewer the Critics gives us 12 bolt tribal, 16 bolt tribal, whatever bolt tribal in Modern. So this may be the type of thing that you start to see pop up more. And I think that at like $2-ish for the promo, it's easily a $5 to $6 promo in 8-9 months at most.
Yeah.
I think this card is just great. Really good buy if you can get in for like sub $1.50, especially. Mm-hmm. Pick up every single one you can.
Yeah, I mean, standard players still have this kicking around. It shouldn't be that hard to pick up from those guys.
Yeah.
This is a card that does go down through all the Eternal formats. I believe this and the X and a red destroy artifact spell.
By force.
Yeah, by force. They both see sideboard play in Vintage,
mm-hmm.
because they're both really good cards when you're just destroying Moxen and Time Vaults.
Yeah.
So
and the fact that it also has the 3 damage to a creature upside, like, it might not seem like a whole lot, but the fact that it occupies a sideboard slot that answers 2 potential problems. I mean, I know some people that are boarding this in Modern Storm because it hits Damping Sphere and it hits, I guess Spirit is a 4 but yes. It works towards Spirit. Not that they're going to block, but I think I think it's relevant.
It is. I'm just pulling up something real quick because I'm pretty sure this is a sideboard card or has been in Legacy now for some time. In Delver.
Yeah, Delver. I ran it when I ran Grixis Delver. I ran one main actually in Grixis Delver because Chalice on 1 was just brutal, and you needed K command number 3 that wasn't cost prohibitive and you could get down earlier.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of events coming into the new year, but yeah, Braid is definitely a card in competitive major and pro level Legacy events.
Yeah. So, and I think that now while there's a lull in events for even for Modern, I think Eldrazi Temple of Braid, cards like that are potential rock stars in the formats, while they're at a lull, at a post-holiday price drop, and we're about to hit tax season and have a little bit more of a price drop.
Yep.
This is the time to pick them up.
Yep. I think lending credence to that, as standard rotation happened in the fall and these were not worth terribly much, there's probably still a lot of standard players saddled with them who would be happy to get rid of this, even at a reduced cost. Unlike the Fatal Push promo, that'll hold value forever.
Yeah.
But I like this. I like this as a pick.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Tune in next week. We'll have some more great topics for you.
Oh, yeah.
You can find me on Twitter, Thirsty Sizzler, us at MTG_Cabal_cast. And
I am Halt. I am Reptar on Twitter and Reddit, if you would like to look us up. If you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to click that bell and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on the iTunes app, please give us a 5-star rating because we are awesome and deserve it.
Yes. Also, stay tuned to our Twitter. Our Patreon goes live Friday, and we will have the link up for it so that you guys can sub. We have $1, $3, and $5 increments. Tried to keep it pretty affordable with some really great benefits in there. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.